Welcome to Human Resources. This week we'll be covering Section 4, which is basically on analyzing work and designing jobs. Part of HR is to be involved into the analyzation and designing, helping the manager design the workflow that looks at the person to improve its intrinsic and also its extrinsic reward system. Okay, so let's go on developing workflow analysis. And again, we'll be using our concept maps, and this is Section 4, Chapter 4. You're taking me online, face-to-face, or a lecture classes at a supplement, or if you're taking me in a different format. Okay, so what do we talk about when designing workflow? We're looking at, you're bringing back your economics. So you're looking at different inputs. Look at human resource or capital as a input or a service provider. So what that basically tells me in a nutshell is that as a provider, I'm looking at raw inputs. I'm looking at what kind of equipment my workforce should be utilizing or is required to use, and I'm looking at the human resources. Do I have enough individuals trained or cross-trained to look at that? Now, for the output for every type of work, again, I'm looking at the product or service information and how to measure the output. So I have some individuals that will be doing this on a day-to-day basis. Others may be doing it as a supplemental or a cross-training. Do I measure the same output for one that does it every day or one that does it once a month? And those are some questions HR has to answer. The next one is organizational structure. Collaboration to achieve goals. Most organizations, we talked before in other classes in management and business and everything else, are very centralized. They are centralized for the core industries, the marketing functions, the finance, the accounting, all are centralized. But whenever they're dealing with customers, they're basically decentralized or in a flatter type of organization. Smaller organizations starting off are more decentralized and become more centralized over time. But what aspect do you become fully centralized or you have a component? Most companies you'll find out that are successful have a centralized component to it for the corporate offices, and every local branch that deals with individuals or customers is a decentralized or flatter organization. And you all have the you look at the same common goals. The more centralized, the more you could keep the common goals. The more decentralized, you have more interpretation of what the common goals and the marketing is. But it could be workable. Remember, most we're working in a strictly environmental forces are affecting us, internal and external, so we have to be more flexible on that. Okay, so let's look at workflow. When I look at workflow, when I'm designing it, I look at, first of all, not with the individuals in mind. I'm designing a process of manufacturing. I'll worry about the individual later. I have to design the process flow. When a customer calls, who does he, what type of individual, or it could be a computer technology or it could be a face-to-face individual. Usually when it's sales, someone's selling something, it goes to a face-to-face because you want to make sure you build up the relationship. If it's like checking on your bills or something else, that could be computerized because you're just looking for general information. So when you're looking at how you design the flow, it's looking at the processes. So I'm not looking at people at this point. I'm just looking at what key factors or key decision points do I have to make a decision when I'm doing my process flow, like manufacturing. I'm coming up with something. At one point, I got to put something in it. Another point, I got to label it. And it's the same when you look at a process flow. So I'm looking at different positions and duties. I'm looking, first of all, what I have in HR. If I'm coming up with a change in a process, could I utilize the same individual I have, just give him or her more additional training? And do I have to change the job description and the job specification? Sometimes I do. When I change that, that doesn't mean I pay him more or I pay him less, depending on what the market bears. And then the job itself, what are the duties, okay? And then you have the Fleischman analysis. He's looking at the subject matters, evaluate the jobs in terms of ability, need to perform the job. So these are basically part of my job specifications that I need. And then certain abilities. And these are the abilities, written, comprehensive, could you read? I'm doing manufacturing. Most people, just because they're out of high school, may still have a very low reading comprehension ability. This hurts because a lot of businesses, even like, say, a manufacturing coming back, I need the technical skills. I know how to do some programming. Okay, manual dexterity. Slur on the words there. But basically, could I have the ability with my hands and function to do the task? If I'm a mechanic, if I'm too large of a mechanic and I'm doing it with a small car, I may not be able to get my hand in there, or vice versa. It depends on the skills that I'm looking for, what kind of individual and mobility that individual should possess, originality and stigma. Some jobs take a lot of pressure, some jobs are more relaxed, so what kind of, some jobs you stand on your feet all day long, and it's not for everyone, okay? All right, so we have the job analysis. Now, important job analysis. When I'm looking at importance of job analysis, it's the building block for human relations management. I have to understand the job, exactly what it pertains, what aspects of the jobs are required, what aspects I could either contract out, what aspects or ability the individual should have, or what kind of training, cross-training an individual should possess to be successful at that job. And I design the work around that task or that process flow. I do planning to make sure I have the right individuals there all the time, and when I need them, I have to make sure I have the training. I have to make sure that my performance relates to the abilities that he or she should possess. Understand, at the beginning, you're not going to have those abilities. Through training, you get better. Look, I never knew how to drive a car until someone taught me how to drive a car, and I was a little cautious and very driving slow. Now I could drive comfortably and relax, not too relaxed, but still very aware. But I don't have that pressure because I already know the distance of the car. I know how to stop. I know the functionality of the car. I feel comfortable in that position. And in your career planning, what do you do for the next step? Remember, when we talk about Maslow, Herzberg, all the motivational theories that we'll be talking about from HR, once I hit a certain plateau, and as for myself, I had achieved that plateau, and once I've reached that, I no longer... I'm motivated, but it's boring because I could do this. It's not a challenge. Where other individuals, they reach that plateau and they love to be in that plateau. There's no it's a challenge for them. Every day is a different challenge, but they don't want to be over challenged. So they already know what to expect, and they love that redundancy, for lack of a better word. Different type of individual, different type of ability, different type of personality, different types of attitude. Remember, so as HR, I'm trying to find the right individual for the right type of task designed for that process flow that I'm needing. If I'm not dealing with customers, I may not be looking too much as communication skills outside with different team members, because mine is basically all internal with just a few individuals, even though communication is important. Not as important as when I'm dealing with different customers. We're running after another different culture, different background, different ideas, different age, different group, different generation. All those are important in effective communication for a sales individual, but it may not be that same if I'm an assembly line just working one or two, talking to one or two individuals. Okay? So we have this, okay? Now, trends in job analysis, designing the work by project rather than job. Again, I'm looking at the project. I'm not looking at what the job descriptions are. Here's what I need to achieve this. I need someone that's a carpenter. I need someone that's an engineer. I need whatever the tasks are. And once I have those tasks, then I try to find the individual within the organization or outside your organization to fit those needs. If I have someone that has similar needs but not exactly, that's when additional training may come in. If I know down the road we're changing, more technology, again, different additional training to retain my regular workforce. It keeps the morale of the individual working for you. As you're growing, you're also growing. Understanding some individuals may not want to take that next leap, and those individuals they either stay until the job is no longer needed, and then you just find a way of the individual leaving your organization through either through some kind of a severance package or a buyout package. Okay? Let's go with the job design. The job design has several aspects into it. First of all, how does the job work? What the skills? Do I have to have computer skills? Do I have to be have certain strength, muscle skills? I'm a fireman. I have to be able to carry a certain average person out on the ladder, or vice versa. Knowing there's an exception. Somebody's really heavy. It's going to take a couple individuals. But on the average, most individual in America, I think it's anywhere from 140 to about like 185. You should be able to comfortably be able to move that individual, okay? And the skills needed for that. Now, sometimes the job changes or the technology changes, so now I have to, what we call, redesign the job. HR is involved in this, trying to keep, remember, HR, your whole thing is keeping the workforce I have and helping them learn. That's how you become a learning organization, through job analysis. Industrial engineering, find the simplest way to structure, maximize the efficiency. You look at the scientific method looks at that. Quick training to perform the job. Some jobs, if it's just an addition, a different training, he or she's already been in the job. I'm just bringing a new tool. It's not as much as me training a brand new employee coming in. They just have to learn that one aspect that's changed, so that works out better. Okay, and then highly specialized, repetitive jobs, different type of an individual and different kind of training. Job characteristic models and motivation. When I look at different job characteristics, part of HR is to make the job challenging. When we looked at different things, Maslow, Herzberg, theory X, theory Y, Z theories, different motivational equity theories. The whole thing boils down to, do I feel that I have responsibility? Do I feel self-worth? Do I feel that I can do the job? Do I see that there's a need that's helping the organization and helping other people? All those are factors. So when I design the job, the characteristics of the job, motivation, I'm looking at skill variety. Don't make it boring, so it's one thing, but challenging. Identify with the task. And you can see a lot of times this whole product was designed by George Mochocki, or this garment was sewn from beginning to end by George Mochocki, whatever. Task significance. What importance does it have for the individual within the company or with outside? If I'm selling a service, autonomy allows an individual to make the decision. There's different ways to get to the same point of view. If I'm going to go to the neighborhood hardware store, I could take the main route. If you look at your GPS, you want to use the expressways, you want to use all rural, you want to do the fastest route. There's different ways to get to the same point. So the same thing when I'm bringing a different job design. I give the individual parameters. Certain things has to be done in certain sequential orders, but you could maybe move around some of the orders if it doesn't affect the overall goal and product of the task that's at hand. Okay, and then feedback. Feedback is important. How am I doing? Even if you're doing great, let them know that they acknowledge. People are people. They're not machines. They're not robots. Even robots, I got a feedback, and it says, here's how you're doing. So it gives me some feedback on the effectiveness of the product, or it needs oil change, or needs something else. But people need feedback more than anything else, and that feedback is basically how you motivate. Designing motivating jobs. So it's just different ways. Now, when I look at this designing, there's a whole bunch of them. Job enlargement. How do I enlarge a job? And remember, it's not about I'm downsizing and enlarging a job. I'm enlarging a job because the process makes it enlarged. Sometimes when I'm enlarged, I'm just adding one other thing. I'm not taking a job away from somebody else, or maybe they're sharing a job, but I'm enlarging it. If I'm taking something away, then I have to redesign and restructure the job, especially if I've got a union. I may have to give them another title. Or if I'm taking some away, reducing the title. And again, that works with, compensation. Enlarging a job, combining several ones, enlarging, motivating the people, job rotation, it's cost training. You move people from different parts so you know what you're doing at the beginning of the assembly affects someone in the middle. The person in the middle works at the end, so he sees, oh, here's the end product. I wish I would have took care of this. And this all makes the job enlargement, so everyone knows what the other individual is doing, even though you may do your own specific job. Okay, job enrichment is empowering. You got Herzberg, intrinsic. How do I give the employees more? You could stop the production line, or you could adjust the way your work assembly is, because it's easier for you. Because if you lay it out this way, it makes sense for you. That may be down the road. You may change the whole process. If it makes sense for you, maybe a lot of other individuals that maybe make sense. So then you'll go back to some kind of job redesign. Self-managing work team. A lot of teams, you're eliminating the middle manager. You're a smaller team. You're in groups. Just like in this class, you're doing a team project. You're in smaller groups. So you all do little portions. You could do all of it, but you could do little portions that you feel more comfortable with, or somebody else doesn't feel comfortable and say, I could do that task. But then you manage yourself within the team, as long as the ultimate goal at the end comes up that everyone has it. So, you had individuals that have the right variety, they identify with the team, they have their own self, motivation and everything else on there. Okay, so you had that self-managing team. You see more and more that's a way of motivating. So instead of me, I'm not micromanaging the team. After a while, I'm talking about employees that have been with the company and understand what is required to do. Not brand new employees. There you have to do step by step, tell them what to do, or him what to do, because they have no clue. Okay? until they get better. Okay, so now the other one, you have flex time. Like flex time, a lot of people, some people are morning people, some people are afternoon people, some are evening individual. The flex time, you have some ability when you could come and go, but the core of the time, everyone has to be here at this time because where our customer base is coming in here. Here's when everyone's going to meet at this time so we could discuss the issues. So that's part of flex time. So you don't have all the flexibility, but you have to make sure that there's always some coverage, especially if I'm doing customer service. So I may not have to come at 8 o'clock when the store opens because I have very few people, so I could have a smaller staff. At noon, from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, people go for lunch. I want full staff. And again, I got some flex time for the evening. About 5, 6 o'clock, people coming home, stuck in traffic. They come visit my store if I'm on the main thoroughfare. But then the other times, they can have some flexible times going home later when the process is slower. And it works the same thing for internal. Okay, so flex times has its abilities, but it just has to be more controlled. And you have to have a right individual. Some individual want to come from 8 to 12 to 4, and that's it. They're regular. That's the way they're programmed. I don't want any flex time. I don't want to change it. Now that you change it during the week for a certain time to accommodate, that could be done well if you got technology and flexibility that you always have some individual on site. Okay, job sharing, and you see a lot of this for like part-time employees, or women or men that want to stay home with their children. So they basically don't want to work full-time, but they still want to keep the skills going. The company may say, hey, we don't want you full-time, but I know after a few years when your child is in school and you want to come back to the workforce, you still train, but I have this other aspect to take care of my peaks and lows. It helps you and helps me as an employee, as an employer, and it also helps motivation. So I share between different things. I'm here from 8 to noon, and you're here from noon to what do you call it? To 4 o'clock. And a lot of families do that. They drop off the kids. The husband or the male or the woman or female, whatever, drops off the child in the morning, and the husband picks up in the afternoon, vice versa. So they kind of have already a job sharing. We take care of what we do, what we could do. Teleworking is not for everyone. Just like my online class is not for everyone. Some of my classes are hybrid, so you have half in class and half face-to-face, but it's not for everyone. So, but some individuals, they're self-motivated, they could come home and they want the flexibility. So they work at home. Or you've got customer service, certain things. They work at home, they answer the phone during the daytime, and they still could watch a child, or they could do whatever activities, their grandparent, or watching their loved ones, or something else. So they have that thing. But remember, it's still more for managerial professionals and sales jobs. There's a lot of telemarketing from home. Aerodynamics basically is how do you adjust your body? Do you need a microphone here? And a lot of that is just to help you, because if you're on the computer all the time, you have certain screens, you got to have certain glasses. Do you have your wrist start hurting? Do your back hurts? How do you do some exercise? How do you keep focused? How do you look at the light? All that makes it easier. And since technology is different, you're trying to adjust the workplace so it makes it comfortable for an individual. It could be comfortable chairs, it could be some kind of stretching or anything else, okay? Now, the other one you have to look at mental capacity. Technology is an assistant, but technology sometimes can be a very frustrating tool. But, a simple mental demands of overload. If you overload it, you give them too much at one time to your employees, too much information, you burn out, you overload, I can't handle it. So it depends how you break off the work, and how do I motivate the job? Do I give them the whole project? Tell them, here it is, but as a manager, I'm just giving you, we only need just make this service date first, this is what we need at this point. Somebody's building a house or a corporate center, they have to have the foundation first, so they're focusing on that. Next one, they do the next level, and then they start doing the carpentry, the painting. So all that has to be broken down, even though they know here's the whole project, and it could be 5 years, 2 years to complete, but here's the job we're doing from this side to this side. Okay, so that simplifies it, makes it easier. Now just break it down to a daily task for an individual. In organizational improvement, simple to operate equipment, clear instructions, okay? So now you got job analysis. Now when I look at job analysis, what is the job? How I'm going to analyze the job. Proper training, proper appraisal, proper function. These are all involved in the job detail. The next one is job description. You have to tell me step by step. If I'm going to be talking 80% of my customers, I'm looking my training to be more on communication. If I'm talking, I'm always in the computer, my training should be more in the technology and how to talk to customers over the internet through FaceTime or what do you call it, or Skype, because that's my communication. Different way of talking in front of a microphone, not seeing the computer, or you see them them on your face or on your screen, and you still have to have it pleasant, and you have to be careful that your mic's on, the mic's not off. What you say, the mic picks up. You got to be very careful, okay? Essential duties, I need to carry out a duty. Now, the other one is, if I'm looking at this cascade, is basically knowledge, skills, ability, and other characteristics. Factual information. What knowledge you actually need about a job? If I'm doing engineering, I should know how to do math. I should know some engineering. If I'm doing accounting, I should know the function, basically, what the balance sheet is. I should know what accounts receivables are. I have to have the functionality. I have to be able to have some skill sets or learning or understanding to do the job, right? Then I have the ability. Do I have the ability to add? And sometimes ability could be learned. Some abilities come natural. So I'm an artist. I could learn all I want to be an artist. Some people just have the natural ability. They could draw pictures. They're creative. I could do it, but it's taking me too long. So I may be able to have the knowledge and develop the skill, but I don't really have that inherited ability right now. It doesn't mean I can't develop it, okay? Depends on the job. Another characteristic, your personal trade, certificates, and degrees, okay? So that takes care of my job specification. Sources of job information is direction occupational titles, published by U.S. Department, occupational information networks, online job description, and labor, okay? So we have that one. Position analysis questionnaire. And when I look at a questionnaire, standardized job questionnaire, work behavior, certain questions, job characteristics, appreciate wide variety. There's a lot of articles, and we'll be discussing things about assessments. HR is a lot of assessments. You have so many people want to do the job. How do I basically minimize my pool and just get the people that are really ready for this type of work? I understand I'm going to miss some. Some may miss it, but that's why you have assessments, and which ones, so they're not discriminatory, which ones actually measure the tasks I want the individual to know or have the ability to do certain tasks. If I want someone to pick up 185 pounds, I have a dummy that weighs 185 pounds. Could he or she lift them whatever way, drag them, pull them, pick them up from point A to point B? I can measure that. I could see that's worked it, as long as I need that, okay? Other jobs may be a little bit harder. Okay, key parts, output, relationship to other individuals, job content. All these are key parts of what I'm looking for my questionnaire. So I'm asking, are you honest? Could you deal with flexibility? Could you deal with irate customers? And they're embedded in the questionnaire, how I respond. It's not only one question. There's other questions asking the same questions and positioned or introduced to the reader in a different format. Sometimes you may just be watching a video and it says, how would you handle this? And they give you three or four scenarios. So they're not doing too much reading. You're actually seeing what happened visually, and now you're responding. That's another way to work. If English is a second language, you can kind of understand it. So what you need to know, remember, what you learned today is elements of workflow analysis. You need to know how your process works, whether it's manufacturing, service, customer service. How does it flow? How does it relate to the whole organizational structure? So it's like a car. I know what a battery does. It's one component of the whole organization of mechanics and electrical and engineering and water and cooling and hydraulics to make that car move and make me comfortable. But what is that one component do, and how do I fit? Job analysis in HR. How does HR help a manager analyze the job so he knows the manager, he or she knows the soft skills, exactly what the job's, how to break it down, what am I looking for, and what components, so I hire the right individual. Trends in job analysis, and we've talked about that. Designing job for efficiency and majority individual, knowing I had to do some flexibility to individual because we're all unique in a way, and if it's only tweaking it here for what is this person wants a taller desk, wants a smaller desk, wants a bigger screen, wants some headphones, whatever. Motivation in job design and aerodynamics in job design. How's the office set up? How someone gets hurt. Even inside the office, you have a lot of different types of injury than you would in construction. You could have, carpal tunnel. Your neck could hurt. Your eyes could be watering off. You could get stiff neck. You get, overweight. I'm not saying that's a problem, but when I left construction and came into the manager, I put on a lot of weight because I'm not as active. Even though I'd be walking back and forth, I'm more on the desk, walking from here to the coffee machine to the pop machine. More on the computer. So my body's not. My mind is sharper, but then my body suffered a little. So how do I minimize that and have some kind of activity that he or she has to go to different parts of the building just to get that wellness or that active, get the heart pumping again. Okay, and mental issues of a job. A lot of jobs are more stressful than construction. Construction, you tire your body. You could work and think, and your mind gets tired, and your whole body still has the effect, because now it's all coming up to here, all the senses working. All right? So that takes care of our section 4 that we're having. You're taking me in human resource management training, and we're looking at analyzing work, designing jobs. Again, utilize my concept maps. If you're taking me on an online class or face-to-face, or what do you call it, a hybrid class or some other different or a training session, this all works out well for you. It gives you a general idea, so you can look at it and say, hey, I know what I need to do. It just gives me ideas what I could do with my team. Remember, all this, since we're all unique, it gives you different ways of looking at it, addressing an issue, and doing it step by step, and taking another look at your job design. Do I have the right people, or is my job designed properly for the type of employee I need, and vice versa? Do I have the right tools and the right employees, which basically gives me a good product. Again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and I'll see you in our next section. Bye.